All right, so I just blew $1,000 on a TV, and it's probably not the one that you're thinking of. Actually, scratch that. I know it's not the one that you're thinking of because I didn't buy an OLED. And I know, as I've come to learn for the people who typically watch my videos and comment, they don't like it when I don't pick the OLED over really anything else. But hear me out, because I think what I found is really, really great. But if you don't normally pay really close attention to the TV space, you may have missed that genuinely insane TVs have now landed in under that $1,000 price range in 2025. We're talking QLED TVs that hit 3,000 nits, which is stupidly bright, QD mini LED stuff that shouldn't exist at these prices, and OLED TVs that are finally affordable enough so that normal humans can buy them. But the big question is, which one actually deserves your money? And that's where things get really interesting. If your budget is under $1,000, but you want a set that looks like you spent at least twice as much on it, then this video is for you. So when I started this whole thing, I felt like brightness was pretty much gonna be everything. I feel like that's what most people are looking for first, like generally. And the first TV that came to mind was the Hisense U7QG in 65 inches. This thing is legitimately ridiculous. 3,000 nits for a TV under $1,000. Like my first LCD monitor from like 2005 probably peaked at like 200 nits. And I thought that that was absolutely fine at the time. We have come a long way since then because Hisense is out here trying to make you wear sunglasses while you're watching your TV. My living room has these like big, like west-facing windows, and towards the later parts of the day, it is like a torture test for basically like any TV that I have set up. The rays are coming in and assaulting that screen. This TV, however, doesn't care about any of that. Bright sunny day, doesn't matter. Watching HDR content in the middle of the day, no problem at all. It's got about 500 local dimming zones too, so you actually get pretty decent contrast instead of that like kind of milky gray mess that you get with a lot of cheaper TVs when they try to show black. Gaming wise, it's really good too. It's 165 hertz refresh rate, which is like higher than most gaming monitors that are out there. You get 4 HDMI 2.1 ports and all the VRR and sync technologies that you could want. Although I will say one thing about this, setting it up is kind of a pain because Hisense really wants you to know how bright this thing can get. So it's kind of cranked everything up to 11 out of the box. And that's kind of the main problem with it. The colors are so pumped up that it looks like somebody turned the saturation slider just all the way to the maximum and left it at that all day long. You could spend some serious time in the picture settings sort of dialing it in, or you could just use their theater bright picture profile setting, which is actually really good if you wanted a sort of quick fix. That gets you about 95% the way there, in my opinion. Viewing angles can also be a little bit of a challenge with this set. It uses a VA panel, so while it might look great like straight on, it will suffer from the sort of washed out look once you go past that sort of 45-degree angle point. But you know, it's under $1,000. Like there's going to be some sacrifices like here and there. Now, if you want that same aggressive level of brightness, but you want it in a bigger package, Hisense does make the U7H. That kind of bumps you up to 75 inches or under that $1,000 price point. It dials back the brightness to 1,400 nits instead of 3,000, but like honestly, like that's still plenty bright for most rooms. The colors are less cartoonishly saturated out of the box, which is kind of nice. The trade-off, however, is going to be connectivity. You only get 2 HDMI 2.1 ports instead of 4, which might matter if you're like one of those people who plays with like a PS5, an Xbox, a gaming PC, and the sound system. All of that sort of fighting for a connection doesn't make the TV really ideal for you. But aside from that, Hisense U7H, it's a really solid set, especially at 75 inches for under $1,000. Now, if you don't need all of that brightness, or maybe like your living room doesn't have a sun right outside the window like mine does, and you want something that has really great color accuracy and vibrancy, then let's talk about TCL. They've been kind of the scrappy underdogs for years now, who got their start making decently cheap TVs that enthusiasts didn't really get all that excited about. However, TCL's glow up over the last few years has been nothing short of remarkable. Their new 2025 line, especially. Their 65-inch QM7K is an insane TV for the price. It's hitting around those 3,000 nits like the Hisense does, but the quantum dot technology makes the colors just a lot more vibrant, but not quite as oversaturated as the Hisense. And on top of that, you're getting really great color accuracy. Like red cars actually look red instead of like fire engine red, if that makes sense. It's got this really natural vibrancy that it doesn't feel artificial, which is exactly what you want. The gaming features, also really solid. 144 hertz, all the VRR stuff that you would want. And here's something that's really nice to see. The HDMI 2.1 ports don't share with eARC, so you can plug in your soundbar, 2 consoles, and still have room for whatever streaming box that you're using without having to do that annoying like cable swapping dance every time that you want to switch devices. Although it's not perfect, fair warning, it does have a glossy screen, so if you got it next to like windows or lights that create reflections, that's gonna be a little bit annoying, especially since it's a much larger screen. But if you're sitting here like Kylo Ren screaming more because 65-inch isn't enough for you, then TCL has you covered there as well. You can get their QM6K in a giant 85 inches under $1,000. And while that is technically one less K than 7K, it really doesn't feel like it. It still has the QD mini LED technology, but the sacrifice that you're having with that is brightness. It's definitely gonna be bright enough for most rooms, but it's not nearly as bright as the 7K. But the QM6K superpower is in its color accuracy, especially when it comes to skin tones. This TV out of the box really gets skin tones right, especially with darker skin tones, which is not something that you see very often in TVs straight out of the box. But the QM6K does a really great job at bringing the warmth and life to an image and really makes skin tones feel just right. And look, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that size doesn't matter because it absolutely does when it comes to TVs. Once you experience 85 inches, going back to anything smaller is gonna feel like you're watching TV through like a porthole. Movies are just gonna feel cinematic, games are more immersive, even regular TV shows have this sort of presence that you just really can't get from a smaller screen. The big downside to this set is that one of the HDMI 2.1 ports pulls double duty as an eARC, something that I wish that all TVs would just kind of go away from. So if you've got like a soundbar and then multiple gaming devices, this might become a problem for you. But listen, aside from that, if you want a really large, great set with really great color accuracy and you can control the light in your room just a little bit, then I strongly encourage you to take a look at the TCL QM6K. All right, so at this point, you might be pretty convinced that I already found the winner of this video. But, you know, of course, I had to test the obvious alternatives that I'm sure a lot of you are already furiously typing in the comments about. We cannot forget about the favorite child of TV tech, OLED. The LG B4 represents everything that OLED fans love. Perfect blacks, infinite contrast, no blooming around bright objects, and incredible response times, and of course, has an amazing design. At 55 inches, the B4 just barely squeaks in under $1,000, and I get why a lot of people are obsessed over this TV. In the right conditions, it's absolutely incredible. Game performance, nearly flawless too. 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, all 120 Hertz, all the sync technologies that you need, and the input lag is so low that you'll just run out of other things to blame whenever you lose at Fortnite. And also, stop punching screens like you're grown adults. It's weird, just go to therapy, it's better. But what's not weird is the AI upscaling, because on the B4, it's really good. Lately, my wife and I have been watching Gilmore Girls on it, which is my wife's favorite show. And at this point, the show is kind of like ancient in terms of like modern pop culture, and it looks terrible like on most TVs, but the B4, it looks surprisingly decent. But here's the part that the OLED faithful don't really like talking about. Brightness is still a weakness in some OLEDs. The B4 tops out at 700 nits of peak brightness in like a 10% window, and it goes to under 200 nits if you watch anything in like filmmaker mode, which I do. If you got a bright room, you're gonna struggle with this set. Now, it's amazing in the right conditions, but those conditions, they need to be pretty controlled. Now, you do have the C4, but that's only in 42 inches if you wanna get something under $1,000. It gives you more brightness, better color volume. You know, if you can find one nowadays, they're kind of harder to find. LG doesn't like selling them anymore. Of course, they wanna sell the C5, but you can find one on like maybe like Best Buy or Amazon or something. Plus at 42 inches, like it works really great as a PC monitor, but if you wanna like kind of push north of that in LG C-Class, you're gonna be sort of breaking that $1,000 budget. Okay, so after looking at all of these sets for the past week or so, even with the OLED options thrown in the mix, I kept coming back to the ridiculous 85-inch TCL QM6K. Every single time that I would switch and test something else, I would find myself kind of missing it. And not because it's technically perfect, because it's definitely not. But I'm telling you, how this set shows skin tones is really impressive and something that is worth weighing heavily in your decision making. If somebody gave me like $1,000 and said, just go buy a TV for like any random person, I'm gonna be getting them a TCL QM6K in 85 inches, and I'm not even gonna be second guessing it. Size will transform everything. Is it the brightest set out there? No. Is it most color accurate? It's close, but it's not quite. Best connectivity? Definitely not. But what it is the TV that makes the biggest difference in how content actually feels. And that's something that you really can't define by looking at a spec sheet. Now, the OLED people are really going to hate this choice, and I get it. Like, OLED is technically superior in a lot of ways, almost every way, right? Because sometimes the best choice isn't always the most technically impressive one. But again, to be fair, maybe your situation is different. If you're gonna be watching TV in like a dark room and you don't have like a ton of wall space, then yeah, maybe you have like a 55-inch OLED, that's gonna be a really amazing option for you. But if you have an ultra bright room with lots of windows like I do, that Hisense might be a really good choice for you. But if you want that sweet spot of performance and value, and it's really hard to argue with the 85 inches of solid QD mini LED technology for under $1,000. So, there is your answer. Skip the overthinking, ignore the spec wars, and just get the big screen with the really great technology. Your future self is gonna thank you every single time that you turn it on. And if this video helped you avoid, spending a whole lot of money on the wrong TV, then do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, and while you're down there, make sure to hit that like button as well. It does help the video's performance a lot more than you think, and it also matters a lot to my heart. And if you have any other really amazing TV recommendations, please let me know in the comments. I do read every single comment. I like talking to you guys, and I'd be really interested in knowing which ones are your favorite. But listen, I've got a lot more videos coming just like this one that actually will help you make smart buying decisions instead of just telling you to get the most expensive one that's out right now. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.